starting it off because I know we try to do this every now and again, but I wanted to start off with books you're reading.
Right now, I am reading a book. It's called The Three Words, but it is about the power of the subconscious mind. Very, very interesting. I don't want to say you battle with it, but like I don't think people, and I guess that's what the subconscious mind is, right? It's constantly going that you're not aware of what it's doing because it is, it's on that constant flow, whatever. And it's very different to see, and what they talk about is how powerful, how strong that is. And then as it's gotten into the book a little bit more, I'm just like, huh. So it's made me kind of question my own subconscious, and I think I've been trying to do this a lot more, like I say, the past really, really more in the past year or so, is be a little bit more mindful of my words and what I'm saying and what I say to myself, and creating those frequencies, and like when I forget where this comes from, but as a matter of fact, this probably leads into one of the things we're going to talk about later. But I think what Hitler said this is like if you tell a lie enough, it will become the truth, right? And your mind.
Sorry, did you say
Hitler said this.
Hitler
If you
said that?
tell if you tell a lie enough, it will become the truth, right? Kind of like how propaganda works. Like if you say, like if you say,
Oh,
like if you say,
yes.
Spoons are bad enough, like it will take on a thing, but it will become the truth, right? And very, very obviously that played a part in a lot of the propaganda that they were using at the time. But I think it's interesting because, and I've read this before, that your brain doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie based off of what you say, right? So you could say, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then maybe this is what a lot of the way Trump speaks about himself. It kind of has this air to it, like I'm amazing, I'm great, or whatever. It's like, but if you say that enough, right? If you say that enough, like in your own subconscious, you will essentially manifest those things, and your subconscious will basically help you create what you're telling it. So if you say, hey, if you tell yourself you're a fat piece of shit, subconsciously you're going to do things that affirm what you told your subconscious mind. It's essentially the gist of the book. So it's
Yeah. Nobody speaks worse about themselves
you
than
gotta be more
themselves.
conscious about what you say. I don't know if you want to make it a biblical thing, but words have power. Like look at the perfect scripture, but I know it says, life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so it's very, very important
Mhm.
to watch what you say, mind what you say. At a minimum to yourself, it's like you're the only person. Oh, that's what it was. You're the only person that's ever heard everything you've ever said, right? So every thought
There.
you ever had, everything you've ever said, you're the only one that's been there for the entirety of your own life. So like you've heard every negative thing, not necessarily every positive thing, every negative thing you've said about yourself as well. So obviously we want to have more positive things, obviously, that we say as opposed to negative things. And the more I think about it, the more like that makes sense. Definitely see a difference. Definitely feel a difference in that. So I think it's a book. Kind of goes in line with the book. One of my more favorite books I read last year. Don't believe everything you think, and it's the power of basically it's the power of your thought. Like you don't control your thoughts, but you can control what you think. So it's along those kinds of lines. So it's a very, very good book. I would suggest it. I think everybody should give it a read. I think it will greatly change your perspective on, not necessarily how you view yourself, but how you speak to yourself, which in turn will change the way your life is going. I think it's a powerful book for shifting your life in a positive direction. So, what about you?
Well, I've been reading two books. I was recommended this book.
Okay.
I think we
Yeah.
talked about it in the last one. It's a long book. But I've been crushing this book because I'll
Oh
be
yeah.
interviewing Mr. Josh Bates on Street Tales tomorrow. And dude, it's actually pretty dope. So not just because I'm interviewing him, but I'm happy to do that. He also lived a dope fucking life. But it goes into whole wall banking.
No, it
Have
hasn't.
you ever heard of that? It's a form. It's not new, but I had to Google it because I'm like, what is that? And it's a type of banking really popular still in the Middle East, where if I want to send you money, they obviously have a lot going on, wars, terrorism, all the kinds of shit they got going on. So it's hard to move money through one, the banking system, and two, it's not really safe to walk around if I wanted to say give you 10 grand, whatever. So you go to a wall banker, and I might be saying that wrong, and if I am, forgive me. And they give you like a barcode or whatever, password, whatever the fuck it is. You take that, you go to you give that to whoever you want to give money to. He then goes into his wall banker, let's say 2 or 3 towns, cities over, and they give him the money. It's a form of secure banking, which is reminiscent of like how it was set up in Middle Eastern times with the bankers back then, where you just had a note in your hand and you'd go from London to Paris or wherever you were, you could go to a banker and they would give you your money as opposed to having to carry around sacks of silver and gold. Yes. Well, it's still very prevalent, very popular in the Middle East. And it's the story, the Baghdad Shuffle, talks about basically how fictional, how that's being used to fund terrorism all over the Middle East. Obviously, there's action, shooting, killing, bombings, but it's kind of centered around that. And I was like, for me, you say that, I'm like, all right, now I got to read. I've never heard that. I got to read it now.
Allegedly.
Very interesting. Allegedly. His name might have been Mike, but now it's Mitch.
That'd be hard to track. That's, if that was allegedly true. That'd be definitely hard to track. Right? And hard to,
Well, think of it as a less technology. Listen, I'm speaking out of turn here. I was going to say less technology secure than like, the offshore bank accounts, Sweden and shit like that, where it's like you're given an account number, you lose that, then that's not your money no more. It's that kind of shit. I'm speaking out of turn. Maybe it is. I don't fucking know. They got a lot of oil.
That's interesting. An interesting form of doing things.
The Baghdad Shuffle, bro. Well, it's also an easy read, meaning like you get into the story. It's not Living Blue. It's a great book, but it's one of those heavily researched, a lot of data. Yeah. I think it's very honest. It's very good, but it's
hard to consume.
You gotta kind of have the mindset, maybe be in a bubble bath with a candle on when you try. I'm just throwing that out there. Moving on, just because I know this is random, but it popped up in whatever YouTube feed, whatever the fuck it was. And I think it stems from Kevin Samuelson, RIP. Great dude. Love that guy's show. Hilarious. Also great advice. But it was talking about organization for men. What does it mean to be a man? But blah, blah, blah. The point I'm getting to is what should a man's closet look like? And more importantly, hangers. Now, let me just, as a man who didn't give a fuck about that shit for a very long time, my hangers were either A, what was somebody else left in there when they moved out, B, whatever they had at Walmart, plastic. I don't give a shit. I had hodgepodge sizes, colors. It was like, does it hold my shit? All right, great. Also the dry cleaning hangers, the wires. I would just say, leave it on that. Fuck it. Well, now I'm in a different spot in life. And I'm not saying they're expensive. I got wooden hangers and they're, I don't know. I think it was like $20 for 50. I'm not saying it's an expensive thing, but I do feel some type of way, more adult, I guess, or I don't know. It does make me feel a certain type of way when I walk into my closet and I'm like, it looks nice. And I'm not saying they got to be wooden hangers or whatever, but I think there's something to taking pride into something that small. It's kind of like what you said, making your bed. When you can walk in and it's organized. We didn't even get into organization yet, so let's just focus on the hangers. How do you feel about the hanger portion? Should they match? Does it matter at all? Should they be really not? Does any of it matter?
I'm laughing because I've had a similar conversation about hangers before. So it'll be one of those things. No, but that's why I'm laughing when you brought this up. Again, you should be a guy who just had like different kind of hangers. Again, obviously a lot of it was just the dry cleaning. All my uniform stuff is on the dry cleaning hanger. Coming off of there anyway. So, but so for a very long time, I did have just a plethora of different hangers, hodgepodge of plastic, metal, whatever. Obviously, the dry cleaning ones, the metal with the paper on it. You know what I mean? But I had recently, probably I'd say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, gotten some because I needed hangers, and I think it was like Amazon or whatever, and I was like, and like I said, it's a pack of 40, whatever, 50, whatever, and they're like the hooks are metal, but the actual hanger part is like it's like felt to me. It's like felt. So they're all the same, hangers. And I'm laughing because when you're talking about it, my thought was, who the fuck is going to see my closet that matters, right? But, well, me, yeah. But again, I'm not looking at it like that. But again, what is the term that the girls use? Who cooked here, right? So there was a lady saw my closet. Wow. She was like, "You got matching hangers?" I was like, "Yes, I don't." Some strange hangers. Yeah, men don't usually do that. So who got you these hangers? As to imply, what first of all, what woman showed you that, and what woman left her mark enough that you are using these kinds of hangers? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So that's what I was laughing. But it's when it comes to the hanger part, I think it does speak to. It is nice aesthetically looking at it that they're all the same thing, right? Yeah. So like it seems like a small detail. But like if it's all mismatched, and then once you see the opposite of that, it's like that does have a significant difference on it looking different in here.
bro, I'm never going back. I'm not saying they're always going to be
Yeah,
mahogany wood hangers, but all one color
yeah,
plastic,
that,
whatever the fuck it is, whatever. But I'm like, now that I'm experiencing it, sadly, I was 41 when I figured this out. I'm like, yo, it's such a simple thing. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't, dude. I did just because of this conversation. There's hangers that are like $100 a hanger, bro. I don't even understand what that is, and I don't get it, but that's dumb. So I'm not saying that. What I'm saying
yeah,
is, what just looking all this, all my. But now my shit has always faced the same way. I've always done those things. But yeah, it's funny though. It's funny because it's
yeah,
something I
yeah,
didn't think
yeah.
about. I did it. I did it for myself. I liked it, and then it popped up in my
That's
thing. I
cool.
was like, bro, I've been talking about this shit.
That's funny. But now, what is actually in the closet? I think also speaks to what should be in a man's closet as well.
You and I will disagree about this, but go ahead.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
No, you brought
I
it up,
think
bro.
every
Go
man should
ahead.
have suits. Suits should be in the closet. Suits should be in the closet.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't disagree on the clothes part. Go ahead, continue. Yeah, yeah. We're shoes. You and I will disagree, but go ahead.
Well, I think you should have, obviously you should have suits in there. Obviously, jeans, t-shirts, long sleeve, different. I think you should have a couple outfits for different types of occasions. You should be versatile in your dress. Obviously, everybody has their own personal style, but I think you should be able to have something that fits the occasion. I think it's weird when people are like, "I don't have anything to wear for that." What do you mean you don't have anything to wear for that? What are you talking about? Like, I know plenty of people who, one, don't have a suit. More recently, I was having a conversation with another female coworker who's going to like a more formal like thing. She's like, I don't have a dress for that. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have a dress for that? She's like, I don't, and I'm like, first of all, this is a formal, like a formal. It's an awards thing. It's a formal thing. So you should have something that is
Yeah.
attuned to the nature of what you're going to. It's like you shouldn't should not be a super tight form fitting dress. I was like you should be covered. It's like it doesn't necessarily mean it has to like not be attractive. No one's saying you have to wear a fucking paper bag, but I'm like, what do you mean you don't have like a dress like a dressy dress? The same way men should have a tuxedo. You should have a black tie suit. You should have different types of things. I think everybody should have.
So what I'll say is this: I don't disagree, and my
Oh
collection
yeah,
has grown over the years. But for baselines, every man
yep,
should have a black suit,
yep.
a white shirt, and a dark, solid color tie. Don't care about the color,
Never
really.
go wrong with that.
Minimum. Your next suit should be a dark blue suit, and you should have. And I'm sorry, black suit, brown shoe, black shoes, black belt, dark blue
Brown.
suit, brown belt, brown shoes. That's it. Then you can go off, but before you get your next suit, you need to have a blazer that fits. And I can speak for myself because I looked like I was wearing my dad's suit for a very long time. I didn't understand sizing, whatever. I need to be choked out about to pass out, or I could fit three more fucking things. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So it should fit. And again, you can get suits now Amazon for 140 bucks, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. So those should be bare minimum. But two types of dress shoes. You should have a blazer, and that means you need slacks. Again, that fit you properly. Again, keep in mind you could still maintain
Yeah,
one white
no,
shirt and one tie, so it doesn't have to be an expensive thing by any stretch of the imagination. A nice pair of jeans that, again, that kind of fluctuates and whatever, but I don't know. Your ass shouldn't be hanging out the back. You shouldn't be able to see your balls or your kneecaps. Other than that, I don't know. I've seen some wild shit, bro. People think they're nice jeans. I'm like, your whole knee is hanging out. I don't know if that's nice,
but yeah,
but
you
okay.
shouldn't wear that to the company. To the company, you know.
No. Now let me just also you remind me of something. I gotta laugh, bro. I'm talking about the girls being able to like
Yeah,
dress conservatively. Listen, I'm not the guy for fashion. I wear tank tops and t-shirts, and then if I have to begrudgingly wear a suit, I will. But I can't tell you because we're in law enforcement. You go to court, and it stands out with men, but not as much as with women. They show up, whole titties hanging out, it drifts. They look like they just came from the club or they're about to go to the club. It's like, ma'am, you are in the court of law. I don't understand what's happening right now. You should have one suit, at least one, I'm sorry, one
like you said,
dress or
even a pantsuit.
one thing that's conservative and professional. Put it in the back, it might
Exactly.
get
You
dusty.
should
I
have
don't
that
know.
in your repertoire.
And I was gonna say if you wouldn't wear it to church, you should wear it in court. But I've seen some wild shit in church too, so I'm not even gonna say that anymore. You should have at least one. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you got it from Marshalls or whatever for
Not expensive.
19.99. You cannot go into a front of a judge with your ass and your titties
Well,
hanging
you
out.
can, but I wouldn't expect a good outcome. Yeah, not a good idea.
Not a good idea. So you wore pro hangers then? Oh, match. I didn't even know all your hangers were matching, bro.
What hangers were matching? Like I said, but that wasn't like
Yeah,
by design. It just so happened that I needed more.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I'm not gonna have this. I have all these extra hangers. Might as well just swap them out. And I was like, oh,
I actually like it. Yeah. Now, because I referenced it, let's talk about shoes for a minute. I don't want to diatribe. We could probably do 4 episodes on your shoe collection. We're not going to do that right now. That's not the point. I will say we talked about this 10 years ago, and I'm like, you should have black shoe, brown shoe, dress shoe. Me, I always had one pair of tennis shoes that was for working out, walking. If I was ever going to wear a tennis shoe, it was one tennis shoe until I wore them out. They had holes in them, and then I'd get new ones. And then for me, flip-flops, because I like wearing flip-flops. And then the only addendum was yard shoes, because, you know, that's just going to get all grassy and nasty. I will say that has changed. I still don't even begin to scratch the surface of your shoe collection, but I have multiple types of dress shoes now because I have cold weather dress shoes, hot weather dress shoes. I have multiple pairs of tennis shoes depending on what I'm doing. I actually have multiple pairs of flip-flops depending on what I'm doing. I have my nice ones and my other ones. I have my boots. I have formal flip-flops, bro. I do have multiple pairs of tactical boots because it depends on what you're doing. Light, heavy, cold weather, muddy, nasty. And then I also have yard shoes. So I don't know. I have 20 pairs of shoes maybe. Oh, and now I also own some really nice cowboy boots that I am becoming a massive fan of. Kind of shit on. He was a corporal or a sergeant. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I think he retired as a sergeant. But he wore cowboy boots, and I'm like, bro, that's dumb. And then now I'm like, yo, actually, I
remember that shit. Remember he kicked the door in with the cowboy boots on, and I was like,
bro, with his high ass kick, bro. He was kicking the people. I'm like, yo, just a little lower. You gotta put your leg all up like that, bro.
I'm proud of you, bro. You have more than 3 pairs of shoes.
Well, it was always like 4 or 5. And again, sometimes it was a struggle. And again, my income has increased, so that's increased. But I really never cared. And now I'm like, oh, okay, I see your point. But I think, I don't know, last check you had 200 pairs of shoes? Like just tennis shoes. I can't remember your math. Your math thing wasn't math.
Total pair of shoes, I'd say, no, it's not as bad. Like I said, nostalgia-wise, got all the things that I wanted as a kid that I couldn't get or didn't get. But also at the same time, man, you forget, I was also working. My very first full-time job at benefits was in a shoe store. I worked for Foot Locker. Had access to discounts. So people were like, "Oh, you spent?" I was like, first of all, I didn't. If you think I spent all this, if you think I spent the money that you spent on the shoes, you're crazy. Get out of your mind.
Pause. All right, so you didn't spend all the money on them shoes.
I spent on those shoes. I got a lot of it was 30% off, 50% off, whatever. So I did a mass collection of when it came to sneakers, whatever the amount was, the retail value of, I don't know, maybe 20 grand or something like that. I probably spent maybe 5 on it. You know what I mean? So like all the total, over the course of some years, whatever. But definitely, I mean, like as you go on, you're gonna need, you get more suits. You gotta have different shoes for different things. Dress more shit. You got your loafers, you got your fucking closed toes, you got your, all kind of shit. You got Chelsea boots, your chuckers, all kind of shit. I don't have the cowboy boots. I have working cowboy boots, right, and then formal dress cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Obviously, the work shoes are, I have obviously black for your class Bs, and I got brown, and desert brown for your specialty, bro. So it's getting up there when it comes to and that's the thing too. Is for as much as we wear a uniform, I realized that just wearing a uniform comes with different shit. It's like, oh, I got 4 pairs of the same pairs of green 511 pants. It's like, well, how come you need 4 pairs? It's like, trust me, you need 4 pairs. You're gonna need 4 pairs. You need it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially I think the only pair of shoes I still haven't gotten that I wanted desperately as a child, well, shit, I guess honestly I still want them, is and correct me, they're the Jordans 4s, the light blue ones they were light blue with the white.
Military 4s?
No, because this was back in the day, bro. Hold on. Jordan, I'll show it to you and then you'll tell me what it is. Because I also didn't even realize there were so many different fucking Jordans. It's the ones that had the hologram bubble on the side. Oh, hold on, let me look it up because I want to double check before I say what's up. Jordan 13s. Yes, right here. These ones right here. You know what? I might just buy these, bro.
Talking about it. Yes.
Bro,
the Flint blue. You have
those, bro. I always wanted, bro. I was like, what am I gonna wear them to? I don't know.
Just have them. Who cares?
Just have them. They'll go on my love me wall. Be like, I finally got them. They ain't never been worn. Well, I
There
put
you
them
go.
on in the
It's just
house.
in the house. Whatever.
They'll,
There you go.
they'll be my new house shoes. Oh shit! All right, bro. We're good on that. Well, next topic, and this came from a conversation with Mo, who we're gonna have on 56 and soon. I don't know how it came up. We were talking about cop cars. Now, my first cop car was the Crown Vic. It was a DUI cop car. Had the holes drilled in the back so you could rinse out the puke and the shit, the vomit, and it would go through the floorboard. I will say I didn't realize one. And when I say holes in the floorboard, it was you could see the road. So rocks would kick up sometimes, exhaust. If you were idling, you'd be like, damn, it's getting hot as fuck in here, man. What the fuck's going on? But I love the Crown Vic, bro. And let me just say this. I've driven the Crown Vic, the Charger, the Tahoe, Suburban, Rango, and it, for a short period of time, I had a dope-ass 1998, the old school Ford Explorer, four-wheel drive. Honestly, that might be my favorite. It's not practical by any stretch of the imagination, but I just liked it. I think it was rugged. But I think full-blown, my favorite cop car is still, to this day, the Crown Vic. Now, I'm going to preface, before I get to your, hold on, because I'm going to speak for Mo for just a minute, because she started off back in the day where she was driving the Chevy Lumina, Taurus, Dodge Intrepid. I didn't even know those were cop cars. Well, she was saying that she's like, I don't know if you knew this. Them shits used to catch on fire. She goes, the suspects would be in the back seat going, yo, it's hot in here. It's getting hot. Something's wrong. Like shit was catching on fire back there, bro. And she also drove the Charger and I believe the Tahoe. Well, man, I don't know. I don't think she ever got the Tahoe before she retired. She's also saying the Crown Vic was that shit.
So
but go ahead, you're up.
Favorite.
Oh, and the Taurus. I'm sorry. She also drove the Taurus. The old school Taurus. She's like, you motherfuckers wouldn't, me and you wouldn't fit in the motherfuckers. I'm like, probably not. Yeah, no, bro. The Charger you set up
on the top, pull yourself out.
Do you remember when they switched from the Crown Vics to the Chargers and we flooded like 20 of them because because the intake ratio, on the Crown Vic was 12 inches, Chargers was 6. Florida, everybody flooded them shits first.
You throw around in the engine. Stay away from standing water. Yeah, okay. Exactly.
How am I supposed to respond to call? Anyway,
I think the
seems like a design flaw.
Ooh, because right now I have a Tahoe, and
I know you hate the brakes on that bitch,
they
but
hate me. They're so loud. They just scream all the time. But see, here's okay. I do love the Crown Vic. Crown Vic, I don't think you can ever. It's hard to do better than the Crown Vic as far as like a working car, like what it can do, what it can stand up to. She was fast, sturdy. Had enough space in it. Love the push bumper. I'm kind of upset we don't have push bumpers anymore. But I think
stupid, bro, dumb.
Favorite going to be a toss up between the Crown Vic and the Tahoe because of the space. Right? Obviously, I have a lot of fucking tactical gear, and the Tahoe gives me enough space, and it's roomy enough, it's wide enough that it's comfortable for me to be in, as opposed to some of the other cars. Right? The Charger handles fucking amazing. Once I actually got in it, I mean, I remember when we first got it. It's like
your whole belt would fall off.
My chest. I can space bar with my chin. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you kind of like, God damn.
You know what I mean? But about that, I think I missed the push bumper for sure. So
let me ask you this.
So I'd probably say
Sorry, go ahead.
The earlier iteration of the Tahoe would probably be my favorite because high enough, sturdy enough. Obviously, we don't chase people that much anymore. It's not going to be the fastest thing in the world, but had a lot of space, and I had a push bobber, and it was a little bit more narrow, so it was easier to get in and out and maneuver. So I'm going to go with the 2019-ish Tahoe. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you can whip that bitch like you used to whip the Crown Vic?
I mean, I'll whip anything, but ain't none. You can't whip it. You can't whip that thing like you can whip the Crown Vic. I'd say, as far as like an actual working car, like all things encompassed as far as driving, handling, speed. The only thing I needed that I was missing in my Crown Vic was some subs. I'd be heavy.
All right. Second question: have you ever? Because we learned how to pit cars in the Crown Vics. Have you ever pitted or trained on pitting in the Tahoe? Can you even pit in the Tahoe because it's so high?
In a couple weeks. First time.
So this will be the first time, though.
It's a pit refresher class, but yes, you're right. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we'll do a follow up when you do that because I don't know because
the height is going to be different. Definitely a transition, but I mean height, yes, but we'll see what the difference is going to be.
Also, do you think you could do a J turn in the Tahoe? See, I got questions, bro.
I think it's heavy enough that you could in the rear. I think it's heavy enough in the rear. I ain't gonna say, but I got so much
I don't
gear
know,
on that
bro.
I wouldn't even think about trying that. But and you know I like to ride without seatbelt, so I'm like I wouldn't even think about trying that with a fucking Tahoe. Absolutely not. And I will say again, I will say that's where the Charger and Crown Vic cars outshine the SUVs handling wise. But you know what you make up for in actual practicality. I don't know. I mean, shit. I drove over a center median the other day without a problem. Wouldn't have been able to do that in the Charger. Not. I wouldn't even have thought twice about it in a Crown Vic. So I mean, pros in it.
No. Meaning you couldn't do it. I did
You
pop
couldn't
a
do
few
it. But I mean,
tires
even then,
in
we
the
had the
Crown Vic.
hurricanes last year, and having the Tahoe really, really, really fucking helped. You know, obviously with the water, getting around and shit, driving over stuff, whatever. So I mean, practically, probably better off. And again, that's why you have different cars and fleets, right? Is you have your interdiction, fast type cars, your Chargers, Challengers, kind of shit, Mustangs, whatever. I was like, but you're for your every average day to day deputy working thing. I think a SUV is probably going to be your best bet.
It's a valid point. I'm going to take this, throw it out to anybody who's listening. Throw it in the comment section. I am trying to find somebody who actually does research on this shit, like to develop research is anything: vests, guns, non-lethal, new technology, vehicles, whatever the fuck it is. I would love to talk to somebody who actually does this because I've used these things, and sometimes I'm like, yo, this is dope, and then other times I'm like, yo, who thought this was a good idea? This is stupid as shit.
I did.
Yeah, bro.
That. I did. I think we talked about it. I did have the new taser. It's nice. At first,
liking it? Now, did you have to get
no,
retased?
But it was actually,
Well,
because the ones that we trained on was the 2-prong, right? So two things come out at once. This new one that they have, the 10, is one. It's essentially ATF classifies it as a firearm, so you have to have a different type of training, right? So it's one trigger pull per probe, and so it is an adjustment because you're so used to the one pull, 2 probes that space out at a time. This one now, and I was like, I don't know about that, but after using it, I was like, I get it because you may or may not get a good catch or a spread. So like in theory, it seems like a drastic change, but it is a lot better and a lot more practical to have it one probe per trigger pull because you can adjust it. So it's like, boom, you hit one, hit a guy in the shoulder, it's like, wherever that guy's moving, wiggling around, you may only get one anyway. And then you're down to 2. Another one, you kind of have to line it up, whatever. This one with the new one, it's like boom, got him in the shoulder, boom, got him in the leg. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay. Yeah, and after using it, doing the training, I mean, I used it. I'd say probably maybe 3 weeks after getting it, and it was like I said, it was enough training to be familiar and to use it without second thought on it. Right? It works phenomenal.
What are the vaults? Because I know they came out with 80,000.
For the how they got to that point, research and development wise.
What are the vaults? Because we got shot with 50,000. I know they came out with 80,000, and I took a drive stunt from it, and I didn't like it.
The voltage wasn't different. It was just the way that you're using it. So they didn't raise
the way you're doing it.
But again, I'd be interested to see if anybody, it's an excellent product, but I'd be interested to see how the research and development, how they got from this point to what seems like a very, very far jump. But I'm sorry.
No, I'm very interested. It's one of those things where I can talk about the actual use of things, but I'm like, I wonder what goes into it, and I don't have a fucking clue. So that's interesting. I will say, just to clarify for everybody, just because it doesn't kill you, don't mean that shit don't hurt like a motherfucker.
Yes.
What's the worst one? Pepper spray or tasing? I think you already know mine, but go ahead.
100%.
I don't know, bro. Pepper spray affects me so bad.
Discomfort. The taser is actually is pain, bro. pain. Girls like, oh, what's it like to get tased? I was like, have you ever broken a bone? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay, so imagine that level of pain all over your body all at once in an oscillating thing. Like they're like, oh, that sounds terrible. Yeah, I know. I was like, it's enough that if you take it out, people are like, I'm good. We had bad guys say that, like,
if you pulled your gun, I probably would have ran, but you pulled your taser. I know you're going to use that bitch. I'm like, you goddamn right.
It's like I'm way more likely to get taser shot. It's like I want no, like bro, like, it hurts so bad. I want no part of it. I want zero parts of it. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately, because I've been through so many academies, I've been tased so many times. And I swear to you, it's like, dude, I already have my taser certification. I don't need to get tased again. Yes, you do. I think they just enjoy watching it because I fucking hate it, bro. Bro, I got 2 different sets of scars in my shoulder from where I've been. Yeah. I got tased in Hillsborough. I got tased in Maine. I'm like, yo, motherfuckers, stop tasing me, goddamn. No. I got prongs.
I know.
In Maine, they shoot you with the prongs.
From the clips. It wasn't even on my body. It was on my shirt.
Yeah, they burned the shit out of it. Yeah.
Fuck that, bro. No, I'm good. I'm good.
I ain't gonna use his name, but you remember old boy who said, this ain't shit. So the dude put it on his shoulder and his ankle, said, all right. That perfect, flawless spread that you'll never get.
What do you feel about the nuns? And none of that changed my mind. Yeah, exactly. A real quick attitude adjustment, real fast.
Damn right. Damn right. All right, bro. I wanted a couple things we didn't talk in the last one that I wanted to. I would like to talk about, and it kind of ties into each other. Okay. I want to talk about the Diddy trial. It's not in the trial itself, but it actually, you and I have talked about it on this show, but we talk about it all the time off. The difference between morality and criminality. And it looks to me, I'm not watching it, I'm not really following it, because truth be told, I don't really care. The defense is basically saying, look, yeah, he has proclivities and he's done some bad shit, but that's not a crime. That's the defense. There's other people like, well, her running out of the room, you beating her and dragging her across the floor back into the room might suggest she didn't want to be part of that. Maybe. But my point is morality and criminality. When does it cross the lines? Because we have talked about this. We talked about it with the unfortunate incident in Texas. We talked about it with, we talked about it with other things, but
specifically with the Diddy trial.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think
that's what we're saying on.
I mean, I think that is the kind of the highlight of the issue, right? Like, is Diddy on trial for the way, especially with Cassie, whether Cassie was the first witness, right? So it played out, and I'm not quite sure what the strategy of the prosecution is by doing this, if they're trying to establish something, right? But a lot of her testimony was about.
They're trying to avoid these sex trafficking.
But the way they're asking the questions and what the things that she was saying made it seem like maybe kind of I wonder, like, I'm not seeing the long game on this prosecution wise. I'm sure they have a point that they're going to get to at some point, right? I was like, but especially the beginning of testimony was a lot, like we talked about, was a lot of this sounds like moral stuff that doesn't necessarily, not that it's not important, but it doesn't really seem like it leads to the criminality of what you guys are talking about. Bro, first of all, crazy shit. Morally crazy shit, bro. I was like,
yeah.
Hold on, you like this, man jizz on your own nipples? I was like, bro, what is happening? I'm like, bro, what? You are weird. You are a strange, weird, thick dude, bro. If that, yeah, but I'm like,
but wild shit going on.
He liked, and that's what he was paying other people to do, it's like, okay, yes, weird, strange, but I think that's the point of what the prosecution was trying to say, and I guess on the opinion part of it, right? Obviously, we know in law enforcement is about elements of said crime, right? Right, not necessarily the morality of it per se, but it's like, but some of the shit is so egregious and so weird that it's like, was he able to get away with this because he was so powerful, because he was forcing the people, because the shit is so out there morally that they weren't saying anything because they were scared? And I'm like, okay, well, if that's where you're trying to go with it, okay, maybe I understand a little bit more as to the line of questioning, as to why you're asking certain questions and trying to get certain testimony. But I think I think he's guilty in the court of public opinion when it comes to morality. I think that's clearly way beyond the scope of what most people would say is beyond strange. I mean, again, I tell you all the time, it's not against the law to be an asshole. It's not against the law to be weird. You know what I mean? It's and then we've gone past the point where most people would be like, all right, dog, you're beyond the point of like what we'll say is strange or weird or whatever. Like, people have all kinds of kinks and all kinds of shit, and for whatever kinds of reasons, like, are you like, bro, are you so rich and have you been with so many women and whatever? Now you're just gone on to this whole other realm of shit. again, I like women. I don't think I could ever have enough that make me get into some weird shit. I don't think so. I'm gonna go ahead and eventually say no. It's not gonna
Yeah.
happen, right? But it is strange that I mean, I think he's, like I said, he's guilty on the morality part, but um the criminal part, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out towards the end. Just what I
Well,
know, right?
Well, I think they're gonna have a hard time because with the Cassie thing, again, I don't. For people listening who super follow this or super pro Diddy or whatever, forgive me, but just from what
Yeah,
headlines and what I see come across social media, whatever, the clips, it's almost like sports sometimes. Like there's so many games going on. I watch the highlights. I don't know. He tried to pay off a security guard to make the video go away. I think it saying that she is down to do it when she's literally running out of the room, you're chasing her, grabbing her, beating
yeah,
her, and dragging her by
yeah,
her legs back into the room
yeah. When
would
people are like,
suggest
"Why didn't
maybe
she
she's
leave?" I was
not.
like, they're like, "Why didn't she leave?" I was like, "We
Maybe.
watched the video of her running away and him beating her ass. Like, what are we talking about? And dragging her back.
And dragging, bro, and
We
dragging her
all saw
back
that
in
happen,
there.
right?" I was like, "So
I will say we are living in a simulation. It makes me because when you have a prostitute whose nickname is the Punisher testifying in federal court, I think we've lost. I think we've
yeah,
where are we, bro? I don't even know what's happening anymore. Yeah, I don't even know. But it is interesting because it's interesting to me, and I don't know how we ever get back to it. But the United States, the courts and stuff, it used to be pretty
mhm,
the morality police, but now with 2025 being what it is, nobody gives a fuck about anything. Hey, what you do in your own home is whatever. It seems a little invasive that you're like, hey, this dude's into freak offs, and like I don't give a fuck that he's banging a bunch of dudes or whatever he's banging, whatever he's doing. I don't really care. But it's part of it is like, why are you keep bringing this shit up? Like a part of it is like you're just trying to tear this man down. Like
yeah."
stick to the elements of the
It's like, yeah,
crime.
what
What
do you?
is the crime? It feels a lot like they're trying to embarrass this man as
Yeah,
opposed to say
exactly. That
this is
sounds
the
like,
crime he committed, and they're mixing it in with some criminal stuff. But like, why did this
yeah, and
Punisher dude have to come on
I'm
there?
I'm like, I'm confused as to, like I said, I'm assuming that there's going to be all encompassing point at, like I said, with the prosecution. I'm sure they have a plan that they've laid out as to why they're doing what they're doing, that they feel like is going to establish
Yeah,
the elements of the crime when it comes to this trial, right? I don't know what that is. I don't personally
yeah.
see it happening at the moment. Like, again, when it's just like you said, like a lot of this shit is kind of like, I mean, if I was into this, I really wouldn't want that shit to come out, right? It's like, this. I think everybody has things that they wouldn't really want to have in the public, in the public light, right? Or to be judged by the public or whatever that they felt
Yeah.
like was moral or immoral. I'm sure we all have. Everybody's got vices or whatever, but I think obviously there's certain ones that we can all agree upon are worse than others, right? And even with the freak
Uh-huh.
off shit, I was like, my only question about the freak off shit was like, how many of these people were consenting, or like they keep saying that the shit was they had tapes of everything, but I'm like, well, now once you, even though, like, if these people were consenting at the time, but they weren't consenting to you filming the shit, like that's where I feel like that's where you're gonna cross the line on that part. You know what I mean? It's like, so
Uh-huh.
probably, did they want to do it in private? Yeah. Did they want to do it in public? No. That's two completely different things, I think.
This ties into my next question. And for those listening, this is not a
Mhm.
political party thing.
Hmm.
Pardons, presidential part. Well, and actually, we can break it down: presidential
Mhm.
pardons as opposed to governor pardons. But we'll focus
Mhm.
right now on presidential pardons. I'm not a fan. Period. The end. I
Mhm.
don't like it when anybody does it. Let alone Trump, let alone Biden, Obama, Clinton, Bush. I don't give a fuck who it is. It truly is starting to feel like everyone's just pardoning either by social media pressure or they're going to pardon their friends and family. Unless there
Mhm.
is an egregious, I don't like that. I don't like the sentencing,
Right.
so
That was going to
no
be my,
pardon.
my question, but you answered my question before I asked it. I was like,
If it's an egregious use of Department of Justice
mhm.
prosecutorial power, then and it's looked at and they're pardoned, so be it. But I'll use some recent examples. And again, this is not
Mhm.
anti-Trump in any way. I didn't like it when Biden actually, we can talk about that too, the differences, because Biden
Right.
just said preemptively, these folks, my family, anything within this 10-year time span are pardoned, even though there's no crimes that have been alleged yet.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, what? But Trump just let off NBA young boy Todd Chrisley and Julie Chrisley for
Mhm.
tax fraud, tax evasion. I mean, everybody for January 6th, which again, I don't know the full scope of that. I know but it was just like, I don't like that they even investigated anybody. They're all gone. They're all pardoned. Fuck it. Well, some of them might have done. Again, this is not trying to dive into the politics of whatever. This section might get blasted on social media for whatever reason, but the concept of somebody being able to go, I don't like it, done, and there not being any misuse of power or something like that. The concept that somebody can get elected and say everyone's out.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm. I mean, I guess it serves a purpose, like you said, when there's a wild, just I don't want to say that misuse, but like when we know it's like you said, there's extreme cases where it's like this person could have not obviously, guy spent 20 years and some chick said this dude did whatever, and then they prove DNA, like that's literally not true. Didn't happen like that, right? Yeah, I think it serves a purpose for that kind of stuff. But to your point, like it's when you start, I guess when you say you're kind of just throwing it around a little bit more, it kind of takes away from it in a sense, where it's like, damn, dog, so you're just gonna pardon your son who's clearly doing some fucked up shit. You're gonna pardon him like that? Like,
The preemptive pardon is not even in this conversation. I'm flat out against it. I don't care who's in power. I don't care what party you're from. That's insane. But the political stuff, like there's some on here that, misuse of campaign, all this shit. I'm like, bro, who gives a fuck? But when you're talking like, yo, you've been found guilty straight up for tax fraud, because if it was you and me, we'd still be in jail. Or young boy was in jail for possession of like, we caught you with drugs. It wasn't a setup. We caught you.
but I like him. So,
But I like him. So nah, he's good. He's straight. Like, what are we doing?
I think,
what are we
I think
doing,
that speaks to human nature, because I think we obviously not to this level, right? But we talked about it. It's like, hey, if I'm in a position to put my people on, do shit for for my people, it's like I guess I just expect people to do that if they have the ability to do that. Yeah.
Listen, full disclosure. If I was president and my son was into some fuck shit, yeah, I'd put the shit out.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I get it.
Listen, I get it. But it's these blanket, like, hundreds of people. And just like, nah, they good, they straight. I'm not even knocking Biden for pardoning Hunter Biden. Don't lie about it. He's my son. Fuck out of here.
That's the thing that I think
fuck out of
here.
Here.
Piss people off is you acting like, oh, I was like, bro, we know why you're doing this. Just say that. Like,
he's my son. Yeah. And actually, he's my last remaining son. Yeah, 100%. I don't give a fuck about that.
You know.
Listen, you give me that kind of power, BJ, preemptively absolved.
We know it's coming. We know it's coming. We know it's.
Yeah, but it's just all this like social media stuff. Where it's like, oh, hey, free my. Bro, I don't know if we talk. I don't know if we talk about it on the show, but it's like all these people like, yo, free my boy, whatever. He in prison. You look it up. He killed 4 people and shot a cop. No, don't free him.
Like, as a matter of fact, put him in jail.
Yeah, no, don't free him.
Yeah, or so or whatever color. No, bro.
No, bro. Now some bullshit political stuff like, he misappropriated 10 grand for hair.
Yeah, people being like,
get out of here with that shit, bro.
Free Jeffrey Dahmer. No, what?
No.
Get him out of here.
No. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So overall, what's your thoughts on pardoning? Just in the sense of not from misuse of justice or whatever, miscarriage of justice, but just like
miscarriage of justice. I think you need it for that. Yeah, you need it for that, but
100%.
As like on a whim of like, nah, I think I'm doing this because it'll serve me in the public. No, but again, that's human nature. So, I mean, I don't agree with it, but I also don't expect it to not happen.
All right, fair enough. All right, last thing, and I'm slightly surprised you were not aware of the Kanye recent saga. He released a music video, song, whatever, Heil Hitler, but then he just re-released it, and it's Hallelujah. And the thought question I want to ask you, the only one that I heard in a major platform setting was a commentator, Michael Knowles, a podcaster, Michael Knowles. He's a white Catholic male married with kids. He's the only one that said, I think you're misunderstanding the song, the original release of the song, Heil Hitler, because everybody immediately, Kanye was continued to be discredited. He's mentally unstable. He's lost his mind. He's out. He's ostracized. Fuck that guy, whatever. But Knowles is like, no, you got to listen to the words of the song. And he originally was like, he's saying they took his money, they took his kids, they tried to take his career, they tried to take his life. They're painting him out to be a monster and a villain. So fuck it, I'm going to be one. I'll be a Nazi. And he sends out a tweet because he talked to his kids. And he goes, I apologize for anyone I hurt. I'm no longer on that tip. And he re-releases the Heil Hitler song to Hallelujah.
So after listening to the song, I think I understand what point he was trying to convey. Like you said,
He's still
I
Kanye,
think
bro. He's gonna go wild, but
maybe he presented it in a way where obviously it's not going to be received well, right?
Not gonna be received
It's not going to be
well.
received well to the point that no one's even going to be listening to the point that you're actually trying to make, right? It's like it's abrasive just off of just the name alone is going to come up abrasive and lead people into not really wanting to hear what you have to say, right? It is the epitome of the saying, you catch more flies with honey than you do with shit, right? So in listening to the actual song and what he's saying, it's like, okay, I get the point you're trying to make, right? I think the bigger question when it comes to Kanye is what, and this is something we were talking about before. I was like, what if he's not crazy, right? What if he's not crazy? What if these things he's saying? I was like, I think people are just like, oh, Kanye's this, Kanye's. I was like, have we stopped to think as to why he's saying these things, or like why he seems to be on such a completely opposite end of the spectrum from where we've known him to be. Most of his existence as a public figure, you know what I mean? It's like everybody. It's all crazy until it's not, right? And in some cases, and I've said this too. I guess I kind of get what he's saying. It's not that I was wrong. I was just early, right? I said this. It's like most people like the statesman thing comes off as crazy, comes off as weird. Oh my god, blah blah blah. Time is on their side eventually, where it's like, oh, now you look back at what he said 5 years ago, and you're like, maybe he wasn't wrong. Maybe you're like, oh, so and so's been trying to tell us that for the last 5 years. Like, oh, now you believe me? Oh, now I'm not crazy because whatever. So I'm like, I think the bigger question is, what's going on with him as to why a lot of this stuff is actually coming to light. And again, some of the topics that he's talking about in that thing is like, don't you think it would drive you crazy if you felt like, whether it's true or not, right? If you felt like they were taking your family away, taking your children away, would those things not push you over the edge or push you to at least to the edge? I was like, I think a lot of people are missing what he's actually talking about. And he's saying like, hey, they took my family, they took my kids, they tried to make crazy, they tried to kill me, they got me hooked on this, and blah blah. I'm like, are you guys hearing what he's talking about, or you just stuck on the Hitler part? I mean, I get that. I know, very abrasive. I get it. I was like, but what he's actually saying is kind of fucked up. Like, if that's true, that's kind of fucked up. But like I said, at least the question I was asking earlier, I was like, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Especially, I'd say the last year and a half, 2 years ago, right? last 2 years, year and a half, right? I've been thinking this question a lot. Do we ask ourselves, am I wrong about anything ever? Like, what if I could be wrong? Whether it be like, maybe I have my experience with a person or with a situation, and this is the reason why I have this outlook on said person or whatever, right? But do we ever start to think like, dang, I could be wrong about that? Like I could, that I have, my point of view as to what happens, or I have my point of view of things. Damn, I could be fucked up. I could be wrong. I could have a skewed version or a skewed vision or perception of things or people. I think it's in being in that space and listening to what Kanye's talking about or where he's at. I'm like, man, what if we got this? What if we have this wrong about this? And do we change our, what is it? I guess, what does it take for us to change our minds about something that we feel like we're going on?
I think it depends. It definitely depends. Just because you're passionate about something and I'm passionate about something doesn't mean that one of us is more right than the other. I mean, I've been kind of shitting on the educational system, and I probably will until it fixes itself. I'm trying to think back in my own educational upbringing, but whatever we're doing, you need to be able to teach people how to think for themselves and to rationalize reality for themselves, and then also use and this is a deep problem. I don't know how you fix it, but you need to be able to compare it to your own upbringing, religious beliefs, personal philosophy, and your own personal experiences. It's hard to do that on a full-time basis with everything you bring in, because sometimes it's easier to say, yeah, whatever, it's not my problem, fuck it. And that's fine. But when you're being given information, you need to be able to filter it through all of that. I used to say all the time, if I think that you're an asshole, like deep in my core, and you just go, hey man, how you doing? Man, fuck that asshole. Because everything I hear you say is being filtered through, he's an asshole, right? And so tie that into whatever you want. Bro, man, fuck him. He's racist. Man, fuck him. He's ignorant. Man, fuck him. He's trying to take something from me, because that's all you're hearing. That's all you're seeing. No matter what you say to me, I'm only going to filter it through my perception of you. Unfortunately, and I've commented on this several times, but if it doesn't fit in a hashtag, most people don't listen anyway. They tune out. People will read the headlines and then be like, "Yo, did you hear that shit? Did you read the story?" The headline was supposed to make you read the story. You just read the headline. And what's even worse, in my opinion, because you can't put that on people who are trying to work, go to school, raise kids, all that. A lot of them will just go through the headlines and go, "Oh man, that's crazy." The media will report on headlines, and they themselves did not read the fucking story.
Yeah.
It's lazy, bro. It's lazy fucking shit. It's lazy journalism. It's lazy. I don't know how we get to a point. I was actually looking, I think it was Tucker Carlson, who's had some wild interviews lately. I'm like, bro, I don't know about that one. You're going off the rails. But they talk about the freedom of the press being in the Constitution. The guy who was speaking, I'm terrible at this. I don't know why I do this to myself, but the guy who was talking said the freedom of the press refers to the actual press, who every citizen in the U.S. had access to that press. You could publish whatever you wanted. It just means you had access to the press. It didn't mean the press could become this elite, secretive, collusive society that controls all knowledge and all information to then be pumped out. He goes, that's not freedom of the press. Freedom of the press doesn't mean you just get to say whatever the fuck you want from a massive platform with money and power behind you. It was access to the press, access to knowledge. I've felt that way, but I've never articulated that out loud, and the individual articulated it very well. And so, am I wrong? What would it take to correct that? I think you need access to information. And I think but again, I could give you all the information in the world, but if you don't know how to process what you're reading, it's not going to do you any good. The answer is I don't know how to solve that problem.
I think to even be open to the fact that, and again, I don't know if saying I'm wrong is has such a negative connotation, right? I don't know if you want to say I'm misinformed or I have a change of position. I think a lot of people, it seems like, are so, I guess, tied to their opinions as who they are as people that I can't back off of this, right? So it's like I made this position, I have to hold this position, or else I'm not who I say I am if I don't have this viewpoint. I'm like, well, you could just say, okay, I changed my mind. I was presented with new information, and now I have a different opinion on it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that or doing that or being able to do that. I think it not that it makes you better or worse than anyone else, but I'm like, to me, it shows your ability to think critically and to actually have to be open. I think, and to me, nobody's above criticism or above reproach, right? So it's like I could be wrong. Yeah, I didn't know that. Damn, I didn't see that part of it. Oh, I didn't have that piece of information. Oh, I didn't know that. Let me formulate a new opinion based off of the shit that I actually have now. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It seems like as a society, it's like, no, like with this another case, the trial thing. I don't know if you're up to date on this Tory Lanez thing. Where, like, supposedly he shot Einstein or whatever, and like you have all this new evidence. I'm like, I don't really think he did the shit before. It was like one of those things. It's like that what you're saying doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay, they did whatever they did in court. I didn't really follow the trial too much with that, right? But in looking at some of the new stuff, I was like, whether you think the new stuff is fake, but whatever, right? They got new stuff out. Why is it so difficult for people to be like, okay, let me take a look at this and actually be like, okay, now that I've seen new information or new blah, 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 okay, now I have a different opinion. It seems like people are so, I don't want to see that because my mind's already made up. Okay, well, if your mind's already, here's my thing. Your mind's already made up a lot of stuff. Then don't be surprised when no one wants to give you the opportunity to change how you're viewed and whatever. I was like, I think it goes both ways. I was like, so again, like you said, it's like, okay, well, you're an asshole. So so now I'm always an asshole forever? Well, yeah. Okay, that was 30 years ago or 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Still an asshole? Yep, still an asshole. Okay, well, all right. Okay. I think that, I just think it goes both ways. I think as from what, again, just from what I consume of what people say and how they interact with one another, it's like, seems like people are just above the ability to say I was wrong or I changed my mind. I think it's unfortunate. I think it's weird, but whatever. Who the fuck am I?
See it? Well, and I'm not going to dive into the political shit on this, but just the overall concept of it. Pro America. I love the United States of America. There's 50 states. America is basically, you have the ability in America to test out theories, thoughts, ideas, radical movements, whatever. But so like, there's clearly a vast difference between how California runs their shit and Texas, or Texas and Utah, or whatever, all the states, right? There should all be different. My problem is, at what point do you look around and go, whatever this is, it's not working. Let's try something else. Why does it have to be so ingrained and so tied into an ideology that you can clearly see, because I have fucking eyeballs and a brain, this is awful. Nobody should live this way. Or, hey, every year we're operating at billions and billions and billions of dollars in deficit. So we're funding stuff that is not working and we can't continue to fund it. But instead of being able to just say, all right, hey, we're going to try something else, it's like, you can't, because now that is your whole identity. I don't like it. I don't like that that's how what we've become. I don't like that. Well, it stresses me out that the United States is $37 trillion in debt. And if we continue doing what we're doing, we're going to be $60 trillion in debt. I mean, nobody wants to talk about it. Well, people will die. What are you going to do when we go bankrupt and there's inflation and you can't afford to buy food? You can't afford to buy bread, because people will die if you don't, make some adjustments.
Yeah. But again,
but they can't be wrong, and nobody will talk about it, and everybody's too lazy. I fucking hate it, bro. I hate it with a passion.
On a country level, right? That it's a multi-point issue. It's probably better say for a different episode to really, really deep dive into this, right? But just because history is what it is doesn't mean you have to continue to follow it, right? Clearly, you said, clearly this is not working. We are trillions of dollars in debt. We have the history of the country on moral terms, racial stuff, politically, education-wise, like all these things is like, we can all look back and see that this is probably not the best thing for us to continue to be doing. I was like, but why are we continue to do this when we see, guys, this is not, we could whether it's better or worse, something at a minimum, like you said, different, to yield something different. I don't know if it's going to be better. I don't know if it's going to be worse. I was like, I would not suggest something that I thought was going to be worse. I would not suggest that. But like I said, we're not going to necessarily know until we make some adjustments. And I think if you explain it to most people on a very just basic general level, right? If you say, hey, this is the way we're running the household, we're running the business, we're doing whatever we're doing, this is where we're at. So we're all on the same page. Let's look at trying this. I think this will yield these type of results. I want to be upfront and open with it. I was like, if we do this, maybe this is the result that I foresee to come about if we try it this way. That's what my hope is. That's why I suggested it, because of this reason. What do you think about trying it? I don't know why that's such a hard thing for people to do on just a very basic level. I don't know.
Well, I'll make it much simpler, and there's no comparison between running the government or running a state in this statement, but the concept is there. Hey, I'm going to try the carnivore diet because I've heard great things. I've read books on it. I think it'll be great. And then I try it for a month, and all I've done is spent 97% of my time on the bathroom, and I feel awful. I've put myself $3,000 in debt trying to eat steaks all day. Hey, guess what? That didn't work.
It didn't work.
That's okay. Flip it around. Hey, I'm going to go on a vegetarian diet, and now I'm shooting bricks, and I still feel awful. You see what I'm saying? And I got a fucking gut parasite. Hey, guess what? I tried it. It didn't work. So I guess that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with experimenting, trying. I would say it shouldn't be that chaotic, and hopefully it doesn't have that much disastrous effects. But nobody's willing to say, hey, look, this shit ain't working.
Nobody wants to be wrong.
We got to try something else.
Bro, it's okay to be wrong. Being wrong just proves, making mistakes only proves that you're trying. That's it.
Yeah. This shit changes, bro. Shit fucking changes.
I'm trying, made a mistake. Oh, okay, cool. Now I know. Now I got, you know what? Now I have more information. And now I can make a more informed decision based off the information that I know.
Facts, brother. I think we can end it on that. All right, brother.